Hey guys, OGalbina here, and competitive Pokemon is a blast because there are so many options to pick from. There are so many different viable Pokemon with really fun niches, allowing you to get some great value out of your favorites that may not be conventional metagame staples like Garchomp or Iron Valiant. Unfortunately, it's not quite the case with every Pokemon. Some are just unusable in their current state. This is especially the case for the Grass type. We do have some incredible higher tier ones, like the Ogerpon forms, Ferrothorn, Kartana, and Rillaboom. But a large majority of them are generic, low base stat total defensive pieces that offer little utility for a team. So for today's video, I made it my mission to take some of the absolute worst grass Pokemon that exists and buff them up to a point in which they at least are usable in today's power crap metagame. If you do enjoy today's video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We have plenty of videos just like this one, so I'm sure you'll like those as well. Also, let me know in the comments which type or group of Pokemon you'd like to see us cover next. With that being said, let's jump into it. Sunflora is basically the poster child for terrible grass types. There are some pretty underwhelming chlorophyll sweepers, and they're all probably twice as good as Sunflora is in its current state. First off, we're gonna go pretty basic and add on the fire typing to Sunflora. You see this buff pretty often as is, but giving the Sunflower Pokemon with Sun in its name a secondary fire typing just makes too much sense, and it makes it much more threatening offensively. In that regard, we'll also be giving Sunflower a little bit of an overhaul in its offensive move pool. To give it fire coverage outside of Weather Ball in the Sun, we'll also give Sunflower the standard coverage of Flamethrower for consistent stab, Fire Blast for more power at the cost of accuracy, and Overheat for a nuke. On the grass side of things, we'll give Sunflora access to Hisui Electrode's current signature move in Chloroblast. It has a big recoil downside, but the damage upside could be huge for a one-time nuke on a switch-in. This new fire grass coverage alongside the Dazzling Gleam it already has as its move pool will make this Pokemon pretty tough to switch into. Well, that is after a huge stat buff. Its current 105 special attack is okay at best, and the rest of its stats are downright terrible. 30 base speed is inexcusable for an offensive chlorophyll sweeper or solar power breaker. We're going to go ahead and give Sunflora a whopping base increase of 55 to its speed and bring it up to 85. This makes it faster than the other chlorophyll sweepers like Venusaur, Shiftry, and Scovillain. We need this to be the case so that there's an actual reason to pick Sunflora over these debatably better Sun sweepers. Next, we'll min-max Sunflora a little bit. We're going to take 20 away from its attack and add that right to its already usable special attack, making Sunflora put out actual damage in today's metagame with base 125. Hopefully this is enough to make Sunflora an option in the metagame with so many hulking threats. Parasect is the most Gen 1 Pokemon of all time. Bad stats, bad move pool, terrible typing. Like man, is Buggrass bad. Parasect really only has Spore going for it, so we're going to try and build off of that a little bit. First up, let's get rid of that terrible Buggrass typing and lean into the Parasite that's taken over Parasect's body. We'll be changing Parasect to a Bug Ghost type. I know this kinda goes against the whole buffing the worst grass types premise, but it wouldn't make sense for Parasect to lose the bug typing thematically. Plus, it's my video, so get over it. This new added ghost typing means Parasect needs some new moves. We'll give it access to Shadow Claw, Shadow Sneak, and Poltergeist. On the bug side, we'll keep with the priority theme and give it access to First Impression. Pokemon as slow as Parasect really need things to keep them viable, and Double Stab Priority is a great means of doing so. Lastly, for move additions, Parasect will gain access to the powerful Strength Stab. It's a great move and makes a ton of sense with the Parasite Pokemon that is Parasect. We'll also be removing one of Parasect's abilities in the grass-adjacent Effect Spore and give it access to Cursed Body instead. That will not be the only ability change we rock with, as we'll also get rid of its largely useless hidden ability in Damp and give it access to a brand new ability in Sycophant Siphon. This new ability will apply the Leech Seed effect to any opposing Pokemon that is asleep. This could be from Parasect's own Spore, or a Pokemon using a move like Rest on itself. This lets Parasect really leverage the spores it throws off, not only by doing slight bits of chip damage, but also facilitate its own setup with Swords Dance. Lastly, let's buff the stats a little bit. We'll be adding 20 BST to its attack, bring it to 115. Let's make that new Ghost Stab and Priority actually threatening. We'll also be taking out a whopping 40 from its useless special attack and adding it to Parasect's defenses, buffing them by 20 each. This will allow Parasect to function as a fun niche setup threat that could really bully and break down bulkier and slower teams. Maybe it's the Gen 3 bias in me, but man, Tropius should not be as bad as it is with how cool it looks. It might be one of the most underwhelming single stage Pokemon ever. Our first step in fixing it will be changing Tropius' terrible typing of Grass and Flying and making it Grass and Dragon. It already has access to quite a few dragon moves, notably Dragon Dance, so the dragon association is already there. We will also be adding more dragon moves to its repertoire and really lean into its typing, so it'll have access to Scale Shot and Dragon Hammer now. Dragon Hammer in particular is really cool as a base 90 dragon stab with no drawback, which it will now share access to with its fellow grass and dragon executor Alola. Now we need to address the stats. I mean, these are terrible. What were they thinking? 460 BST is just not enough. We're going to be buffing up Tropius' BST to be comparable to Pokemon like Duraludon, as before it got an evolution Scarlet and Violet, it was one of the strongest single-stage Pokemon with a BST of 535. Here's the new stat spread I came up with for Tropius. 99 HP, 108 attack, 83 defense, 72 special attack, 87 SpDef, and 86 speed. We basically bumped Tropius' attack and speed up a ton, making it a viable Dragon Dance sweeper for the low tiers. Its best qualities now aren't locked behind one of the worst stat spreads of all time. Now, we've considerably improved Tropius, but it's still a far cry from being good. For one last step, I'd like to propose a new sun-based ability exclusive to Tropius, replacing Solar Power. Instead, it will now have the new ability Solar Gift, which will grant Tropius a +1 in its most proficient stat while Sun is active. I like this a lot, because with our new Tropius stat spread, it can be extremely customizable. If you want to be a bulkier setup set with Dragon Dance and Synthesis, you can boost in either of your defenses. You can also gain much more immediate power with a boost to your attack, or more speed with a boost to your speed. Yes, this is just a better Pro Synthesis. But come on guys, it's Tropius. It'd be far from broken, and it would finally breathe some life into this forgotten mon. Very seldom do we see a Pokemon get an alternate form, and said Pokemon or form be terrible. But that is definitely the case with Cherrim. With its Flower Gift ability, Cherrim changes to its Sunshine form when in harsh sunlight. Alongside this form change, it also gives itself and its allies in doubles battles a boost to its attack and special defense. This would be cool if Cherrim didn't have 60 base attack. There's also zero difference between Cherrim's forms stat-wise, making it by far one of the worst alternate forms ever. First, we'll start off with Cherrim's base form, and give it a considerable buff to its stats. We'll be buffing its base defense and special defense by 20 points each. I feel like this lets it lean into the defensive grass archetype more, which makes a lot of sense design-wise with Cherrim's closed-off look. The big changes we're going to make to Cherrim are mostly going to be in its Sunshine form, in both its stats, the function of the ability, and subsequently the move pool. First up, the ability. Flower Gift will still activate upon sunlight, but now it will change Cherrim to the grass and fairy type upon changing into its Sunshine form. It already has access to Dazzling Gleam for strong stab, and it makes sense thematically. And alongside Weather Ball, the combo of grass, fairy, and fire hits a majority of the meta really hard. We'll also be changing Cherrim's stat spread in the Sunshine form, as well as the overall function of the ability. First, we'll take that 40 BST we split and gave to Cherrim's defenses in its base form, and we'll add 20 to its special attack and speed. This will put Sunshine Cherrim at 107 special attack and 105 speed, a huge improvement. The improvement doesn't stop there though, as Flower Gift will now boost Cherrim and its partner's attack and special attack by one stage in the sun. This will give Cherrim itself some additional firepower, as well as significantly improve its viability in the doubles format. The reason I didn't boost speed and special attack was specifically because of double battles, as I think giving your partner a guaranteed speed boost might be a little bit broken for Cherrim. I think this is a fun way to give Cherrim's Sunshine form some viability without completely changing the mod. Next up is Eldegoss, and funny enough, it's probably the easiest base form to work with out of all the grass types we're looking at today. The reason being is it arguably already has the best ability in competitive singles in Regenerator. Eldegoss just needs more reliable ways to leverage said ability and use itself to get free switches into its more offensive teammates. Therefore, we'll be giving Eldegoss the new signature move of Float. This will essentially function as a grass-type teleport. Eldegoss will use Float and let the wind carry it right out of battle, giving a free switch into one of its teammates. The negative priority in particular is what would make this move incredible, as it guarantees you a free switch into whatever you need to get into. This guarantees it does not take damage, and you'll still cover any switches. We'll also give Eldegoss access to Earth Power, as it desperately needs a coverage move to hit grass resist like fire and steel types. Lastly, a slight stat increase is in order, to really allow Eldegoss to function as the bulky regen pivot we've made it. We'll be buffing Eldegoss' base HP by 20, and its defense by 10. This makes Eldegoss considerably bulkier and lets it pivot in and out with much more ease alongside its new signature move. What's this Pokemon's name? No, don't look it up. What's its name? I bet half of you completely forgot that Shiinotic exists. Don't worry, dear trainer, we'll fix that today. First off, we gotta buff stats a little bit. For a bulky grass, Shiinotic isn't quite bulky. Plus, it's also plagued by a terrible defensive typing and grass and fairy, so we'll be giving it the largest stat buff in this video by far. We'll be buffing its HP by a whopping base 50, and its defense by a huge 40. This will let Shiinotic function as the bulky grass and fairy pivot it wants to be. We will also be giving Shiinotic the ability Sticky Hold over the completely useless Illuminate. This lets Shiinotic serve as one of the best knockoff absorbers in existence, a big need in today's metagame with so much dark spam going around. Finally, we will be giving Shiinotic a buff to its move pool. First up is the Token Earth Power Edition. It seems like every grass needs it to function in any serious capacity. Then we will be giving it a new signature move in Shine. Shine is a new move in which Shiinotic uses its bioluminescent spores to illuminate the battlefield and the hazards on them. It will first clear hazards upon activation, but also set up a terrain of its spores that will prevent hazards from being set up for the next 5 turns. I think a move like this would be awesome in the Gholdengo meta, as since it's a terrain effect, you could get rid of hazards in front of Gholdengo as you are not specifically targeting it. This also prevents your opponent from immediately setting them back up again, giving Shiinotic a really fun buff and a new niche that no other Pokemon can fill. Lastly, we have everyone's favorite and definitely not forgettable Gen 4 grass type in Carnivine. I actually unironically love Carnivine's design, and I'm super excited to try and make it at least somewhat usable. First up is ability. Don't get me wrong, Levitate is a great ability, but not on a grass type that already resists the typing. Instead, we're gonna full send it and give Carnivine the very broken Arena Trap. It makes so much sense thematically with the whole Venus Flytrap design, and it's one of the most broken abilities for one of the worst Pokemon ever. I mean, look at Dugtrio and Gothitelle. They'd also be pretty terrible without Arena Trap and Shadow Tag. As broken as Arena Trap is, I genuinely don't think it'd be enough to make Carnivine viable. Its stats, typing, and move pool are just too bad as they are now. First, we'll add the dark typing. It already has access to moves like Knockoff, Crunch, Payback, Throat Chop, and a ton of other weaker dark moves. It's by far the typing that Carnivine has the most coverage for at the moment. We'll also add Sucker Punch to its move pool to give some strong priority. We're also going to give it Stunfisk Galar's signature move at Snap Trap. Is Snap Trap good? No. Would it ever get used on a Pokemon that already has Arena Trap? No chance. But it makes too much sense, and it really annoys me that it doesn't get it already, so we're gonna add it. Lastly, let's buff Carnivine's stats a little bit. We can't give it a Shiinotic boost with the ability we've given it, but a slight boost is still in order. We're going to give it 20 base speed, moving it up to a still bad but more usable base 66. We'll also buff its attack by 15, bringing it to a base of 115. This lets it actually threaten the Pokemon it's trapping with strong Sucker Punches and Power Whips. I know Grass Dark isn't the best typing defensively, but I think it's a huge offensive upgrade that can help Arena Trap Carnivine become somewhat viable while still making some thematic sense. That's going to be the video. Let me know what you guys thought of the buffs we gave all of the worst grass types. Let me know if you think I went a little crazy. Relax when you do. It's okay. We're just buffing pretend Pokemon. None of this is actually real. It's all for fun. But let me know what typings you want to see me do next. If there's any specific like groups of Pokemon you want to see me buff, let me know. Big shouts to Olivia Son for the help with the video. She helped out with a ton of these ideas, in particular Shiinotic idea, which I was really stuck on. She helped a ton with that, and she makes a lot of similar videos like this too, so I'm gonna go ahead and link Liv down in the description below. She's awesome, makes great content. It's more VGC focused, so if you like double battles, it's probably your jam. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a like on the video. See you guys next time. Later.